Hey everyone, welcome to Second Marriage Matters today. I'm glad you're here. Hope you're staying safe and sane. Sane might be a little questionable right now, but just remember with this whole coronavirus, quarantine, whatever it's called, that really nothing's gone wrong. Like thinking that something's gone wrong and everything should be different is really going to continue to exacerbate the problem for you and make it feel more wrong. So if you can kind of just go with the flow and be like, oh, this is nothing, not a big deal, it will help to alleviate some of that stress and some of that anxiety. And even if you can offer yourself some ways to think about it as this might be fun, this might be an adventure, this could be something, it could be exactly what our family needs. Just offer yourself, I'm offering you something else to think, something to believe. Those are some of the things, some of my thoughts, and I will just offer them to you and hope that they can help you a little bit at this time. Okay, so also really fast, Second Marriage Masters. This is Second Marriage Matters. Second Marriage Masters is my 3-month program that is starting in April. I've kind of debated, do I continue on with this? What do I do? Things seem crazy. But I really believe that the best way to stay sane and to feel good and to feel like there's some normalcy is to continue moving forward, to continue to progress in our lives. And I think that this is a great thing that I can offer to you to help you feel normal in some way, and to feel like you're progressing and to feel like you're just going to keep moving forward. So, registration closes this week for that. In the future, this Second Marriage Masters, the cost to do the program will be $1,000 for the first round participants. Is just the $50 registration fee, because I know, I mean, it's dialed in, it's amazing, it's perfect. I have just worked really hard to make it exactly what you guys need. And the only thing that's going to make it better is you working with me on this first round, and make that's what's going to make it amazing. So I just want you to be there. $50 registration fee. Registration's closing on Wednesday, which is tomorrow actually. So get there, sign up. Okay. Children. Children are the best thing in the world, right? Until they're not, until they offer us some challenges, until they feel difficult and hard to love. Now, I know one of the reasons why you got married again is for that love and that connection that we as humans really want, that we really desire. And the thing that's a little bit different about getting married for the second time is that typically it's not, that marriage doesn't just come with a spouse, it comes with children, and like the children's mother and other people involved. And so there's instantly other people that we feel like we should love and that we should connect with and that we should want to serve and support. And the thing that's a little bit difficult is it doesn't always just happen, right? That connection and that love isn't always just there. So it can feel a little bit frustrating and can create some guilt and some shame for us at times. I'm going to put my phone on vibrate because I forgot to do that before class started, and that's going to be disruptive. Okay, so a few things that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about why you want to love his children, because it is really important to know the why behind everything. You need to know your why. I need to know the why for this class, what my vision is. You need to know the why behind your desire to love his children. Second thing we're going to talk about is the real why. What you think the reason is and what the real reason is, okay? And then the other thing we're going to talk about is the problem with all of that, what it creates for you, which I think you can already feel a little bit and know what it's creating for you. And then we're going to talk about love and what it actually really is. So love should be written here, but love is what is the overall factor in the class. So, okay, so first let's talk about the why. Don't you love my really fancy notes? these are easier for me to follow than doing something on the screen for you. So I kind of keep it old school because there's part of me that still really likes to write and likes the old school. So the why. Why do you want to love his children? So if I was to ask my clients this question, they would give me some of these answers. Well, that's just kind of what moms do. I should love his children. So it's kind of a noble answer, right? Like good moms love their children. One of the other reasons that they'll often give me is, well, children they need to feel love. They need to feel safe. And I want them to feel safe with me. And if I can offer them love, then they're going to feel safe. And there's also a little bit of like, it would be selfish of me not to love his children. Like, it seems really selfish not to love them and to just be able to accept them exactly how they are. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons why people will give that they should love their stepchildren, but these are kind of some of the main ones. So you can insert whatever your reasons why are here, but these are kind of some of the main ones. Okay, so the whys, those are whys. So now I want to talk about the real why. It's you. It's not them. Like all of these answers before, they seemed for them, right? Like they need to feel love. I want them to feel safe. It would be selfish of me not to have them feel love. That's, like children need good moms who make them feel love, right? Those reasons all seem like they're for them. Seems really good and noble because you're doing it for them. But what I want you to know is that the real reason why you want to love his children is for you. I'm going to skip really fast and we're going to go to what love is, and it'll help make us a little bit more sense into why it's for you. Okay, so what is love? Love is merely a vibration in our body. It starts in your head. If you think about the model, the CTFAR model that we talked about in the first lesson, the model is always in action in our lives, whether we know it or not. Usually we're being very unintentional about the model, but when we can become intentional, then make sure I use the right word there, then that's actually how we create things on purpose. But when we just go through the flow, we don't even recognize that love is a result of something that we're thinking, but that's what it is. CTFAR, the T always comes, the thought always precedes a feeling. So the feeling, love is a feeling, which is merely a vibration in your body. It's something that it starts in your brain and moves to your body. So you're having a thought like, oh, I just love being with them, or it's so fun, or it feels so safe to be with these children. It's those sorts of thoughts that create a feeling of love. We think it's them. We think it's the things that they do that help us to love them. But it's our thoughts about them that create the feelings of love. Because, like I said, I'm going to write this here and I'm going to write, it's going to be awkward from where I'm standing. Because of, oh, you can't really see that. The CTFAR. T comes before the F, which the feeling is love. So the circumstance would be his children. The thought would be, if you were feeling love for them, it would be something like, oh, it just feels so good to be around them, or they're such a treat, or whatever it is you're thinking, that's what's creating a feeling of love. This feels so good to be with them. That creates the F line, that creates love. So our feeling is a vibration. The love is a vibration in our body, always created by a thought. No one else can feel your love. Like, love doesn't just jump into somebody else's body. Your love is only created, the love you feel for other people has nothing to do with them. It's all because of things that you choose to think. And you can't make anybody else feel love. So we think that we should love them so that they can feel safe, so that they can feel connected, because that's just what good moms do. They help their children feel safe and secure. And that comes as a result of feeling love. But you can't make them feel love. It happens as a result of their own model in their life. It happens as a result of their thought. So they have to be thinking something like, she does love me, or I feel safe when I'm around her. And that will create the feeling of love for them. The only thing you can control is you in that scenario. You can be the person that could maybe do things or say things that might help them to feel those things. But what you say to them could be interpreted completely different than what you want it to be, how you want to interpret it. So you can only feel your love because of things that you think. They can only feel their love because of things that they think. So we think that we want to love them so that they can feel good, but really you want to love them. You want to think things that create feelings of love so that you can feel good. I like to think of it as a blanket. Like you would never be like, oh, I'm so cold. Here, put this blanket on you so that I don't have to feel cold. That wouldn't do anything, right? You would not get warm from that. You would just remain cold. And it's the same way. The only way you can warm up is to put that blanket on yourself, right? You cannot feel love by, like, it won't jump from somebody else into you. You can only think thoughts that will create that love. Okay. So it's like a blanket. Love is like a blanket. You can't get warm from somebody else putting a blanket on. They can't feel love by you thinking thoughts of love. All right, so let's go back a little bit. Let's go back here. The real why is you. You want to love them so that you can feel good, so that you can feel, number one, because sometimes there's so much shame involved with thinking I should love as children. Because when you think that thought, I should love as children, it just sounds noble. But when you think that, it actually creates a feeling of shame. If you think about the model, CTFAR, if you think I should love as children, typically that creates shame in the F line. So you would love not to feel shame. So that's one of the reasons why you kind of want to love as children, so you don't have to feel that, so that you could feel like a good person. You know, that, remember that thought, good moms love their children, good moms love their stepchildren. If you could just love them, you could feel like a good mom or a good stepmom. Also, one of the other reasons why you would love to love his children is just so that you could believe that everything will work out. One of the main things that women bring to me is I just worry that this isn't going to work out, that this is going to end up like my first marriage, and I'm going to have to go through all of that heartache again. I just want to be certain that this is going to work. And so we think if everybody can just act like they love everybody and everybody could be kind and we could all feel love, that would offer you more evidence that everything is going to work out. And that's not true. So that's one of the reasons why you would love to love his children, is so you could just feel confident and certain that things are going to work out. And really, we think that loving somebody's, loving our stepchildren, loving his children is the unselfish thing to do. So we think that thought is just kind of a noble thought. And really, thinking you should love them is the selfish thing, because it comes from this place of needing to feel different, needing to feel better, because you want to feel better. All right. So that's the real why. Here's the problem with the thought, I should love his children. I just think it breeds a lot of resentment. So when you think I should love his children and you feel shame, the action that comes as a result of shame or guilt is always to hide. Shame breeds hiding. Shame makes you want to hide and withdraw and separate yourself. So you just step away a little bit so that you don't have to continue to feel that shame. Well, when you step away and you separate yourself from somebody, the connection gets separated, right? Remember, that was one of your main reasons why you wanted to get married, is for that love and that connection. And when you're not feeling it, you separate yourself so you don't have to feel the shame. And that creates more disconnection. And then you have resentment because you start to look for somebody to blame for that disconnection. And you're often going to blame his children. Like, if they could just be different, if they would do this differently, if they could do things the way I would like them to do, they could just behave, then I could love them. And because you can't, and they're not changing, they're not different, it breeds resentment. And you think you're resenting them, and you don't even necessarily recognize that you're resenting them. But in actuality, you're just resenting yourself. Okay? So it breeds resentment for you. You start to resent yourself. You think you're resenting them, but you're really resenting yourself. I call thoughts like, I should love his children, in disguise beliefs. Because thinking you should love his children is like dropping the floodgates. Is that what it's called? Like, it's closing the gates that let the water out in a dam. All of those thoughts just keep held in, and it keeps you from progressing. It keeps you from growing that love, because you just feel resentment. Think of somebody who you have had resentment towards, somebody who maybe you hold a grudge, somebody who you hold responsible for something in your life, someone who has made you feel like the victim. And now think about trying to feel love towards them. It's so hard to try to uncover all of that resentment to even get to something that even remotely resembles the feeling of love. So if we didn't even have to start with uncovering, like taking that resentment off, it would be so much easier. So once again, I call those beliefs that we should do something, things that sound noble, I should just be able to love them. Those are damning in disguise, because they really keep us right where we are. They keep us from progressing. All right. And it does anything but create love. Thinking we should love somebody does anything but promote a feeling of love, because like I said, we've got resentment then we have to deal with, and we have the shame that we're still trying to work through, and the guilt, and it leads to other things, and it just separates us. And we become oftentimes the victim. It's these kids' faults that I can't love them. How was that? It's these kids' faults. Double negative or something. So it does anything but do what we want it to do. All right, we talked about what love is, right? It's a vibration created by our thoughts. No one else can feel your love, and they can only feel their love. You can only feel your love, and it's a blanket. And that's why when people lack confidence, I just want to touch back on this. When people lack confidence in themselves, it's really hard to feel love. They're always looking, they keep looking for other people to prove to them that they're lovable, because they don't have a well of love inside of them to draw from. They think it's coming from an outside source. They don't recognize that it actually comes from an inside source. So that's just one of the other reasons, one of the important reasons why we need to recognize that love only comes from within. Because if we don't have love within, we really have a hard time being able to offer it and behave in ways that can create thoughts in other people. Well, you can't create their thoughts, but we really have a hard time acting in a way that make it easier for them to interpret feelings, to interpret things that will of love in for them. Does that make sense? Okay. So love is always a choice. Love is always an option. People say, how do I just love as kids? And I want to just say, well, love's always an option, because it's a result of our thoughts. It's just that easy. We think it's so hard, but it's just that easy. Love is a choice, because everything we think is a choice. Right now, your brain offers you thoughts like, well, I'm going to get to that in a second. Love is always an option. And that's a thought that I want to offer you. When you're finding it difficult to feel love, and you're thinking that you should, you can, love's always an option. I'm going to get there someday. Love is always an option. It's possible that we're going to grow, that love is going to grow. Just believing that you should feel it instantly is not going to be helpful for you. because it's proving, I mean, it's already been proven to you that it isn't helpful for you, right? Because it hasn't been working. But love is always a choice. All right, love, the reasons why love feels hard. If love is a result of our thought and all we have to do is think something to create love, why then is it hard? It's because your brain is trying to keep you safe. That's one of its jobs, right? Its job is to protect you. And it gets confused sometimes. There are thought errors that happen in our brain. Your brain pretends or thinks that not loving somebody is keeping you safe in some way. So it's things like if you love them, your brain might be saying things like if you just love them, you're going to get hurt. Like loving always results in hurt. Like it could just be offering you that, oh, be careful, don't love too deeply. You might not even recognize that thought, but it might be there. Something else that makes love hard sometimes for us is that we think that if we just love somebody, even when they're misbehaving, then it means we're condoning their actions. And our brain then is once again trying to offer us some safety there, telling us that, well, if you don't love them, or if you act like you love them, then they're going to continue this behavior. And that's not going to make anybody feel good. So you probably should just act like you don't love them. But what do we know about love? First off, love is always an option, and people thrive in love, in loving situations, and love just feels better for you. I want you to think about how you feel when you love somebody versus when you are judging them for their actions. When you think, oh, I can't love them right now. I can't act loving towards them because they might think that I'm condoning or agreeing with how they're behaving. How do you feel inside when you feel love? How do you feel when you're feeling judgment or something other than love? It doesn't feel good. So why not choose to just feel love? So the worksheet that I have that goes with today's class will go into this a little bit deeper, and it will ask you some thoughts about love and some of the opposite feelings of love and how you can choose to feel that love on purpose. Okay, so make sure you download the worksheet and do that work. If you have questions, get back to me on that. Does anybody have any questions right now? I've just been blah, 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 and haven't looked up to my screen, but I haven't seen anybody raise your hand. And make sure you know that on the bottom of the screen, there's a place where you can click on it to comment or ask a question, okay? All right, so love feels hard because sometimes we think our brain's trying to tell us that if we don't love, it's gonna keep us safe. And we might be condoning somebody's actions if we do just offer them love. Okay, so how to feel love? First of all, you've got to understand what it is you're believing about his children. Are you believing that they should be different? Are you believing that they shouldn't act a certain way? Are you believing that they should act like your children? What is it that you're believing about them that makes it hard for you to just offer them love? Okay. And then the second thing is you have to challenge that belief. Do you really have to believe that they should be different? Because look at what happens. If you think they should be different, what is the feeling that creates from that thought? His children should be different. How do you feel? It feels frustrating, right? You have no control over how they behave. And so it's like being a dead horse. But rather than thinking they should be different, what if you just believed that, you know what? Do they really have to be different? They probably should be exactly how they are because they are, first off. And maybe, do I have to really believe they should be like my kids? Do I really want them to be like my kids? No, because they're his kids. They're our children, but they come from a totally different history. They come from a totally different background. I want them to be who they are. They need to be them. My children need to be them. And it's those differences that are going to create this beautiful blended family for us. If we're all the same, we're not going to progress. We're not going to be able to create something beautiful and something amazing. So learning to love is just that simple. It's just recognizing that love is always an option. We can choose to feel love because love just feels better. And love is a choice. So when we choose to think thoughts like we should love them, it creates more shame and more frustration. When we choose to think thoughts like they should be different, it creates resentment. When we think thoughts like they're exactly how they should be, it opens up a place for you to feel love. And wouldn't you want to feel love just because love feels better? Okay. So that's how we open up the door to start to feel love towards his children. We challenge our beliefs. Do we really, like, is it really helpful for me to believe that I have to love his children? No, you don't have to love his children. You don't even have to like his children. And when you take that off the plate, when you take that belief off the table, oh, feel the relief that comes. Like, I don't have to love his kids. But the question then becomes, do you really not want to love his kids? Because more love, like, think of how good it feels to love. Why not have more of that in your life? So no, you don't have to love his kids. You totally don't have to. It's totally a choice. And if you're really struggling, I would take that off the table completely and just go to a thought of like, it's possible that I'm going to love his kids someday. And that is a little bit safer place for you to actually grow in love in that situation. And then after a while, that thought can become something different. It could become like, yeah, I can see that I can love his kids. And oh, I want to love his children. And I love his children. Like, you see those little baby steps that'll come. Those are called ladder thoughts. We just slowly move to a different thought in the model. We look at the model, CTFAR. If we don't believe something that's creating the feeling that we want, if you want to feel love and you don't believe I should love his children, I don't believe you should love his children. But if you don't believe I love his children, that's not going to create anything for you. That's just going to create more shame. So you move to a thought like, it's possible I could love his children. And then that opens you up to feel some peace. And you just slowly progress through thoughts over time. It's not going to happen overnight, but you slowly work through it. When you're thinking about thoughts that you want to believe to create a feeling of love, it always has to be something that you actually believe. That's why those self-affirmations like I'm beautiful or you're perfect just how you are, those don't work because your brain will call BS on those statements all day long. It has to be something your brain believes. I believe it's possible I could love them someday. I believe that love is always an option. Things like that, your brain could probably believe and can get on board with, and those will actually start to work for you. So, love is always an option. And why not choose love? We cannot be perfect in our actions. We can't be perfect. His children are not going to be perfect in their actions. Your children are not perfect in their actions. You're not perfect. He's not perfect. We do things that other people don't like. But there is one thing we can be perfect in, and that is choosing to love. And love is a choice because it is always a result of our thoughts. We can love perfectly by learning to think things that will help us to feel love. And love just feels better. It's the best option. Okay, folks, thanks for being here today. Be sure you download the self-coaching guide, and then we will see you next month, third Tuesday, and share this with your friends. You have the link to watch this class. In that link is where you will find the download as well for this class. If you missed any of the other classes, make sure that you go back and watch those if you would like to, especially if you're wanting help a little bit understanding the model. And we will see you next month. Have a great day.